I had buried this memory so deep, I almost convinced myself it never happened. Back when I was a teenager, my friends and I had this obsession with exploring places we weren't supposed to be. Living in North Jersey, there was no shortage of abandoned buildings within an hour's drive. Most of it was just forgotten relics, old factories, crumbling warehouses, nothing too wild. But every so often, we'd find something that felt different. There was one location that had been on our list for months, a shuttered middle school about half an hour away. I won't say the name, but if you were into urban exploration in that area back then, you probably know the one. We'd seen pictures online and finally decided one night to go see it for ourselves. It was late summer. The usual stuff, basketball, aimless driving, was getting old. I don't remember who suggested it, but it was a last-minute decision. 4 of us went that night. Me, my friends Yuri, Frank, and Freddie. Frank and I were into graffiti, so we brought a few spray cans. My bag also had some leftover Roman candles from the 4th of July. Our plan was simple. Get in, find the roof, shoot off some fireworks, and run before anyone noticed. Yuri was driving. He parked on a side street a few blocks away, and we walked the rest. The fence around the school had already been cut, which was a small relief. We slipped through and approached the building. It was massive, way bigger than the photos made it seem. We stepped inside, and the silence hit us first. Not just quiet, wrong, like the building was holding its breath. Frank led the way through a side door that wasn't boarded up. We clicked on our flashlights. Mine was an expensive, ridiculously bright thing I'd saved up for. The hallways were stripped down, exposed wires, broken ceiling tiles, scattered debris. It looked like a ghost of a school. The walls were covered in graffiti. Some of it was artistic, most of it was just junk. Frank and I paused to look at a few tags, but we kept moving. We did a quick loop of the basement, which was the most deteriorated part. A room down there had a large pentagram painted on the floor. It was unsettling, but not unusual. Urban explorers know that stuff is everywhere. We didn't stay long. We eventually made our way to the 2nd floor. We found a classroom with a clean white wall, a perfect spot. Frank and I started painting, while Yuri and Freddie went to look for a way to the roof. I finished my piece and wandered into the hallway to look at other artwork. A few minutes later, I heard Frank call out. He sounded frustrated, accusing me of taking his bag. I swore I hadn't touched it. He believed me and muttered that it must have been Freddie, who had a habit of messing around. We searched the room, but the bag was gone. That's when we realized we weren't alone in the building. We went to find the others, assuming they'd made it to the roof. We climbed the stairs as far as we could, but they didn't lead to the roof. We wandered the floor, checking rooms. Then I walked into a small side room and froze. On the wall was another pentagram, but this one was fresh. Paint was still dripping down it. In the corner of the room was Frank's bag, just sitting there. Frank stepped in behind me, grabbed the bag, and said, "What is wrong with him?" Meaning Freddie. But even as a joke, it felt wrong. This wasn't funny. We left the room and started down a dark hallway. Suddenly, we heard footsteps thundering toward us. It was Yuri and Freddie, and they looked terrified. They didn't say a word. They just motioned us to run, so we did. Yuri tried to explain as we ran, but I could barely hear him. All I got was that there were people in the building, at least 3, and they were chasing us. We tore through the maze of hallways, trying to find our way back to the entrance. We stopped to catch our breath at a corner in a different wing. We agreed to move slowly and quietly. We found a stairwell and went down to the ground floor. Just as we entered a long hallway, a sharp hissing sound came from the darkness ahead. Then a deep voice cut through the silence. "I should have cut you when I had the chance." We didn't wait. We ran. This time, I heard footsteps behind us, multiple sets. They were yelling, saying they had the exits covered, that they were going to kill us.
Somehow, Yuri made a turn at the right moment, and there it was, the door we'd come through. We burst outside, through the fence, and ran all the way to the car. Yuri drove off without looking back. That's when you stop running and start wondering if you were ever really safe. In the car, Freddie explained what happened. He and Yuri had gone down a floor and heard a weird clinking noise. They looked in a room and saw 3 people in hoods sitting in a circle, playing with what looked like marbles. When they were spotted, the people scrambled to chase them. I kept asking myself, why would they mess with us like that? Why take Frank's bag if they just wanted to scare us? Yuri thought it was a cult thing, maybe using the pentagram room as some kind of ritual space. I was convinced they weren't chasing us, they were just herding us toward an exit they thought was blocked. Either way, we never went back. Years later, I had a different kind of encounter, one that made me realize danger doesn't always hide in abandoned buildings. I had just moved into a small house on the outskirts of a rural town. It was quiet, isolated, exactly what I wanted after years in a cramped apartment. One night in late October, I got home from work around 10 p.m., exhausted. I ordered Chinese from a place I'd used before and settled in. About 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw a guy in a hoodie, hands in his pockets. No food, no delivery bag. But my brain was on autopilot. I cracked the door, leaving the chain on. I asked if he had my food. He paused, then said he wanted to confirm the order before getting it from his car. That's when my instincts kicked in. I told him if he didn't have the food, I was calling the police. He muttered something and walked away into the dark. I shut the door, locked it, and called the restaurant. The manager said the food hadn't even left yet. I called the non-emergency police line. They logged it, said patrols would be in the area. 20 minutes later, the actual delivery driver showed up. I paid him and thought that was the end of it. Around 11:30, I was watching TV in the dark when I heard a scraping sound from the back of the house. I muted the TV and listened. Silence. Then the doorknob jiggled. Someone was trying to get in. I called 911, grabbed a kitchen knife, and locked myself in my bedroom. 15 minutes later, police knocked on my front door. They searched the property and found fresh pry marks near the back lock. They took my statement, linked it to the guy at the front door, and said patrols would increase. I tried to convince myself he wouldn't come back. A few nights later, I woke up to sirens. Police cruisers flew past my house. I went back to bed, but 20 minutes later, someone knocked on my door. It was 2 officers. They showed me a photo of a man they'd just detained, trying to break into another house nearby. It was him, the guy from my door. They said I didn't have to worry about him anymore. I never heard about it again. You can change your address, but fear has a way of following you home.